Hi everyone, here we are coming to the end of habit 3, stop eating at 80% full. So starting on Monday, your focus will shift to your new habit, and that is our first of several nutrition focused habits. This one is eat lean protein with each meal. Before we hop into talking about that one, let's take a quick look back over the last 2 weeks and capture some data from those 2 weeks and your learnings there in your owner's manual. So to summarize some of the key themes of the last 2 weeks, we'll start with talking about awareness. So this habit was really all about awareness and tuning in. Specifically, of course, tuning in around your sensations of hunger and fullness. And for a lot of you, that may have brought up a lot of different feelings and emotions. Certainly for many of us, when we think about the idea of intentionally going to a place of being hungry, we can feel some resistance there. So if that was the case for you, see if you can capture some of that in your owner's manual. The other thing with regard to awareness that we covered this week is we introduced this idea of noticing and naming. So the notice and naming practice is really one of these tools that you can add to your toolbox that we'll use again and again over the course of the program, and hopefully something that you can kind of incorporate into daily life moving forward. So the idea of noticing and naming really allows us to bring awareness or tune into what's going on for us in any given moment. And the awesome thing about this awareness and the real power of this awareness is that as soon as we become aware of what we're doing or thinking, we bring in this element of choice into our actions. So by becoming aware of what's going on, suddenly we don't have to go down that path of habit or response that we have normally done in the past that may not be something that we want to be doing. So the idea here is that when you notice and name, you can kind of feel the pull towards the response that has been sort of your usual routine response or habit to something. But with awareness or tuning in, you feel the pull still, but you don't necessarily have to go there. So that element of choice comes into play, and you can decide to have a different action or choose a different action in response to that same feeling or emotion or situation. And that is really where the power of awareness comes into play. So looking at awareness around hunger and fullness, looking at this notice and name and the idea that calling out where you feel that pull allows you to have a choice in how you respond to that pull. And another thing here about that pull is really the idea with noticing and naming is not to have those urges or thoughts or feelings that we don't like go away, because that is really an unrealistic goal. So for instance, to think about a craving for something, to have the goal be, I don't want to have any more cravings, is really not a realistic goal to have. The goal we're shooting for is to be able to have the craving, notice the craving, name what's going on for ourselves, and choose a different path. The next thing we talked about over the course of the last 2 weeks is this idea of discomfort. And that in order to change and grow, we really have to intentionally and deliberately go into a place that is uncomfortable for us. We talked about the difficult, easy tasks, which are really just busy work, versus the difficult tasks, which are the ones that really, again, allow us to go to a place where we're going to change and grow. We talked a little bit about fears and how those can play into our decisions and our actions over the course of the day. So looking at all of these areas of discomfort and really calling out and acknowledging the fact that we need to go outside of our comfort zone in order to go to the place where the magic happens. The beauty of this is no one's going to shove you there into a place that you're not ready to go. You get to choose by kind of exploring the edges of that comfort zone for yourself and figuring out where is a place that you feel safe to kind of, stretch things a little bit, and where are places you're just not ready to go yet. And over time, you'll find that that's different for you. And the only way you're going to know where you're ready to go and when you're ready to go is to kind of test the waters a little bit and experiment. Okay, so moving on to our protein habit. So eat lean protein with each meal. Coming from this place of all of this discomfort and looking at going into places of discomfort and hunger, this habit is a little bit of a change because adding protein to meals really helps you feel more satisfied with your meals. You can feel fuller longer. So that might be a nice feeling for some of you moving from the hunger place of the last couple of weeks. So with proteins, we know we don't really eat just protein. We eat foods containing protein. So on Sunday, your lesson will include a list of foods that are considered lean proteins for the sake of this habit. Now, you may find that there's foods on there that you go, hey, why isn't this on there? Or why isn't that on there? Certainly, there are tons of foods that contain some protein. This list is a list of foods that are a rich source of protein. So that's why we're specifically focusing on these. And over the course of the 2 weeks, we'll expand on sort of your knowledge and application of protein foods over the course of the habit. I think that's about it. So over the weekend, you'll want to take a peek at that list on Sunday and make sure you have some of those foods on hand. When you're looking at this habit, if adding proteins and focusing on proteins is something that's something new for you or something that you have a lot of work to do in, know that you don't have to start this habit with protein at each meal if that feels like too much. This is one, like all of the habits really, that you can kind of customize to where you're at. So perhaps for you, the protein habit is adding protein to one specific meal in the day. If protein is something you're used to having on the regular, perhaps this habit is more about expanding the variety of protein choices that you have, or maybe focusing in a little bit more on the portion sizes and making sure you're getting enough of those protein foods at each of your meals. So lots of different ways to make sure that this habit is a fit for you. And as always, connect with me, reach out, and we can have a discussion about that to figure out really the best way for you to implement this habit and do this practice over the next 2 weeks. So with that, have an awesome weekend, and we will talk to you soon.